Hey, welcome everyone. As promised, we told you guys what we would be uh, taking on this evening. We're less than a month away from the NBA draft officially. June 23rd, 24th, I believe, is when the Wizards will make their selection. We're gonna talk about that tonight. So many different variables around it. Um, but we will start with just looking at the Wizards' team needs, and then we'll get into the guys we feel are worthy of being selected number one overall. So, coming off of the season they just had, we know what's on the roster. Um, Ray, start with you, and then Cardell. Your thoughts with the roster, and then thinking about their needs as it pertains to going into this draft. And I believe they have three overall picks. Obviously, we know where the first one is, but keeping that in mind, what those team needs, what jumps out at you, for you at least.
Yeah, well, for me, it's beef up the front court, man. That's that's just been an issue for several years at this point. And their lack of presence inside on both ends, and how they get dominated on the glass. I just think that's their biggest area of concern. They got a lot of wings. As far as point guards go, with Trey and Trey Young and Bub, think they that's I'm comfortable going into the season with that. But yeah, they got to get bigger. They got to get tougher. Uh, they got to get people that can move furniture around. So for me, if they take a wing before the 60th pick, then I'll be disappointed, to say the least. But yeah, in all seriousness, I think their biggest area of concern, the biggest place that will help them immediately is to shore up that front court with depth. Because we as it stands, they got AD on the roster. Uh, they got Alex Sarr, but then after that it gets really thin, and those two guys have we know AD's injury history, and Sarr was a little banged up last year, so yeah, for me, just beef up that front court, man.
Cardell.
Yeah, I think me and Ray kind of on the similar lines with the Wizards. You gotta strengthen up the front court. You got wings for days. You got guards. Um, get somebody that can play both ends. That's about winning. That's about buying into the team concept. As far as not coming in there thinking it should be their team and all that other silly stuff that don't really mean nothing at the end of the day. Just coming in trying to plug in and just help get this franchise back to respectability. Let's just be honest with the situation. Um, but definitely in the front court, they need depth. Ray just spoke on the injury history with AD, and that's if he believes enough to want to stay here long term. Also, SAR's development. He, somebody that can kind of build with him. He has a couple years on him. He took a leap last year where it's easy to see that he's going to be a 20 and 10 type of player in this league for a long time. Just somebody to not necessarily like an insurance policy, but somebody that you got a three-headed monster because you need multiple bigs. You just need it to be a threat. Um, in the league period, but definitely to try to make noise and try to be in the playoffs and do damage in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think we're all in alignment there. No, they got three picks. I will get into what we think they should do with the first overall pick, but yeah, that front court, we've been banging that drum. And we've seen just watching the playoffs this year how important that is. Having quality bigs and having quality depth in the front court as well. And Cardell, I thought that was a great point. I'm right with you. Get somebody where get somebody where even without AD can grow old with Star technically. In that front court where that's a good pairing. And also, there's not a rule against having another person behind them as well. There's nothing against that. Just because you have You got young fella, you got Booth there now. Like that's cool. There's nothing against asking for quality bigs at all. So I'm right with you guys with that. All right. With the team needs being taken care of, start the very interesting discussion that has been, since the lottery, results came out. Social media's been going nuts all about it. But who are the guys worthy of being selected number one overall that Washington should be considering? Cardo, we'll start with you on that, right?
Well, for me, the group is a small group, but obviously AJ DeMonster, he should be in that group for a variety of reasons. His size. I know he's not like a traditional power forward, so to speak, but his versatility and what he brings on both ends of the floor, which is what the Wizards desperately need. They got a lot of offensive guys, but you need somebody that can get stops. You need somebody that can guard multiple positions, rebound, and still be that dude when necessary on the offensive end. And I think AJ kind of fits that mold. Super athletic, measured, just a little over 6'8" without shoes, 7-foot wingspan. And the thing I like about him is his mentality. He wants to be the guy, you know what I mean? But he also knows how to plug into, the team. Because obviously any rookie that they draft or whatever they choose to do coming in, we already know starting the season is going to revolve around Trey and Anthony Davis unless something drastic happens. But we're dealing with things as the roster is constructed right now. So, if they come in, we all know things going to be ran through Trey and Anthony Davis, as rightfully so. They're the most accomplished and, the two best players on the team. So, but he can complement it greatly in many ways. And I know a lot of people probably looking at, man, they got a lot of wings and stuff, but with him, with his strength and athleticism and aggressiveness, he can get away with playing 4, 3, even 2s. And I think with his versatility, he can afford the Wizards to play a lot of different lineups. They can go big, they can go small, they can go, the versatile lineup, man, they can go traditional. They could do a lot more things with him. So I think that's why he's the front runner. Obviously, you got to look at Darren Peterson with the way. Just look at what's going on in the playoffs right now, especially in the Western Conference Finals, where how the guards are, scoring, making the right reads, guarding multiple positions. Look at the impact that they're having, and he has similar tools, similar size, and similar ability. 3-level scorer, can make great reads, can play the 1 or the 2, can guard 1, 2, or 3. So definitely a tough shot maker. That goes without saying. 6'4.5" without shoes, so 6'5", 198 strong. Definitely got a high basketball IQ, rebounding, and he has the poise and maturity to lead the team, and that's something I like. You know what I'm saying? Like, he don't get rattled too much. The only thing that's worrisome is obviously what happened off the court where he just wasn't available to play. And then, that even though it may be a situation that, has been explained and can be corrected and explainable, I think it still hurt his stock a little bit. And with the Wizards, you have so many guards that are similar. Now, maybe he turned out to be better than them, but you got guys already in place that have league experience that's already similar. And let's be honest, man, Trey going to take about 35 minutes at the point guard spot. So it ain't going to be a lot of minutes to go around. And then, when you're looking at that, man, you're looking at somebody that's going to come in and don't have a lot of baggage. You see what I'm saying? Because the Wizards got enough of their own, trying to come out where we just saw this past season and try to, establish a winning culture. And, you can't become a winning culture until you start to win. You know what I'm saying? And, not saying he's not a winner and all that. I'm just saying, like, it's a lot of other questions you got to ask and see if you want to go that route, especially when you have guards that are fully capable of doing the job. And not just Trey. I'm talking about Bub. Trey offensively, we've seen what he could do. He just got to get better offensively, making the right reads. I think Bill Riley can play. He can play anywhere from the 1, 2 to 4. Keyshawn George, can't forget about him. They got a lot of guys that they can get it done at the guard spot. So that's not necessarily a big glaring need, man. I think Even though he has the potential to kind of be better than all of them, I'm not including Trey because Trey already is an all-star. But he can possibly get to that level. He has the potential to get to that level. I think he's similar to what they already have. So, that'll be tough. But kind of along the lines of what Ray was talking about, what we all agree with, beefing up that front court after him and very close is Cam Boozer. You got to look at him, freshman from Duke, 6'9", 6'8" and a quarter without shoes, but 252 pounds, like he physically ready to go. And, I like how he led, man. I like how he led Duke as a freshman. You look, he had a lot of hype coming out of high school, not just because of his production, but that tangible stuff of winning, like high school, AAU, USA, U team, whatever he played, they won. Like they won championships consistently. So all he knows is winning. He just has winning ingredients that just comes with him, and that's what the Wizards need a healthy dose of. And he comes in and fills in a glaring need that they have. And what better to learn from? I know Saar is young, but look, iron sharpens iron. Let's say they do draft him. For however, if they remain at number one, or if they trade down and just get him there. Let's say they do draft him. You're going up against Anthony Davis and Alex Saar in practice, but you ain't got no choice but to get better. Or it's gonna be long. And even Vucevic, if you ain't ready as a rookie, if you ain't ready to go, he'll light you up. We've seen him put in work, so you can't forget about him. Julian Reese. You know what I'm saying? Like he's still trying to prove himself. So I mean, he has it to an extent, but you know what I mean. Where he solidified, I'm an NBA player, and he's stuck in there. And so, and I think that's just going to sharpen him up a lot quicker than what most people think. And I think he'll be ready to go, man. But I just love his his physicality, 7'1" wingspan. He's an efficient scorer from all three levels. I know people looking at his athleticism that he don't just power up and dunk on cats similar to what his father did during his playing days inside. But he finds a way to score. And one thing he has over his father, he has much better perimeter skills. So even though he's not the athlete his father is, he has step out, hit the three. He can break you down off the bounce. He can make the right reads. Super high IQ. Lord knows he'll rebound the ball. And the Wizards, they need help in that area galore. I know at AD, once he on the floor, he gonna help, but they were 26 in the league in that area. They that's part of the defense, man. You know what I'm saying? And on offense, what give you extra possessions and second chance points. He's a disciplined team defender. They need more of that, guys. That's gonna be in the right spot, be in the right place to get the stop and make defense, make offense have to work harder. And again, another just mature, professional, winning attitude and outlook on the game. And yeah, when a team that's trying to establish a winning culture, you need players like that. So that's why I'm very high on him. You know what I mean? And two dark horses, depending on what the Wizards do. If they trade down or whatever, you gotta look at Caleb Wilson from North Carolina. Super athlete. Only thing is he may not have the polish offensively as the other three, but he might be the best athlete out of them. And he has great size, dog, defends like a madman, rebounds, runs the floor. So he can help the Wizards in a variety of areas in that way. I think the Wizards, they don't need much offensively. Let's keep it real. The offensive versatility, how they can shoot, dribble, pass, and all that, and score, they got that. It's more so coming together and making the right reads to maximize each other's talent, and then definitely improving drastically as a whole on the defensive end and rebounding wise. And then I'm gonna throw a dark horse name out there. That's obviously it's a stretch. I mean, long shot. I ain't gonna say stretch, long shot, but depending on if they trade down, I know they like Nate Mint. I know they do. He fits their mold. And the reason why I say I think he's a long shot because I don't think they're gonna trade that low. Local kid, obviously, but also long shot because they got guys I kind of feel are in his mode, like Keyshawn and Will come to mind right away. So I'm just throwing that out there because he checks a lot of boxes other ways, man. And with him being 6'9", 6'10", he kind of fits that mold as he matures physically and kind of being in the front court, being a stretch forward and whatnot. But like I said, that's a long shot. He's fifth out there out my group.
Right. We'd like to hear who you have in your group of folks worthy of being selected number one by Washington?
Yeah, pretty much the same group of guys. Just they just stood out. They did the work in college, and they deserve to be heralded the way they are. But yeah, obviously, AJ is pretty much the consensus number one pick. Um, he's probably the most talented player in the draft, and you just can't pass that up if you're in the Wizards position. Um, just some things that kind of need to improve on. He's a little more perimeter oriented, but it's not completely a bad thing with his skill set. It would have he would provide good balance with AD and Alex Sarr. But he's got to get stronger to compete at the next level. But that's going to come once you get acclimated to NBA strength training. But I mean, the talent is unquestionable. Can finish well around the rim. His playmaking is already top tier. Just his defense needs work on ball and in the team concept. But again, as he gets in the pros and develops, that's definitely something that can come if he puts the work in, which by everything he's shown us, he's willing to do. So yeah, that's he's at the top of the board. Next for me is Cam Boozer. For all the reasons Cardell laid out, that 252 means a lot to me, given the position that the Wizards are in. They just need somebody that can go around there and get down there and bang bodies, man. They just been getting pumped inside for the last few years, going through this rebuild. The game that's always going to stick out to me. I think they were playing the Nuggets. They gave up 100 points in the paint. That just can't happen, man. So they need somebody in there that can be some type of deterrent, to teams on the interior. But yeah, like Ardell said, man, just super polished. He can extend his offense all the way out to the 3-point line. People had their concerns about his athleticism, but I think what he did at the combine kind of not completely changed some people's mind, but I think he performed better than expected. So that's definitely good to see. But again, man, that size is it's only going to help, man. And even though he does have those permanent skills, not afraid to get in there and do the dirty work. So that's going to be welcome. This team just really needs toughness, and he slid above Peterson for me just because, as we discussed before, they already got a lot on the perimeter. But again, Peterson his upside is probably higher than everything they have. But I think it'll just be overkill at that point, and adding him to an already crowded wing rotation, it just complicates things when you don't really need it to. And yeah, again, you got to throw Caleb Wilson in that group. He's just too talented not to. He just brings everything. Like you see the production, 19.8 points, 9.4 rebounds, damn near 58% from the field, but just with all his tools, his size and his skill, you gotta at least consider him.
All right. Where you guys are, to me, is AJ first. You guys listed the reasons, and just we've seen kind of Washington. They've dabbled in this archetype already, and this regime has several times in that big 6'7" to 6'10" wing that can play multiple positions and defend them as well. This is to me, this is kind of like if that's kind of what your bag is, like AD is kind of like a premium option of that type of archetype, right? Ray, I'm right with you. I think second, I'm probably leaning towards Cam too for all the reasons that you listed with what Washington struggles with in that front court. Um, I know people love Darren Peterson, but again, like just being realistic and living in this current place with the Wizards roster, like even last year for them to, successfully do what they did, which was stink, like they had to sit a lot of their young guards and wings so they could do that. Like we only have like we have an idea with some of the guys, but like Cardell, I know you mentioned Trey Johnson a little bit earlier, like kind of got robbed of his rookie year. Honestly, we didn't we got to see glimpses, but they have those types of guys on the roster. And I do think Darren is very talented. Some of the stuff with the off course stuff or whatever that happened there with the health and all that does have me worried a little bit. Um, Especially for Washington. I just think it's if any of the availability is even in question, like to me, you just gotta leave that alone. Like coming off what you just did, like the plan was to essentially tank and rebuild and everything else. You finally, last year was what it was, and you ended with the first overall pick. You made the trades for Trey Young. You acquired Anthony Davis. It's go time. I don't believe, if this is the timeline where it's go time, you can't bring in somebody where that's any type of question. It's not a knock on him. And I'm sure he's whatever he becomes in his lease, going to be great for the team that drafts him. You being who you are, selecting one, can't afford to even dabble in that in the least bit. In my mind, again, I'm not going to dare just live in this current reality and universe that we're in. It's like you guys said, Caleb Wilson, man. Again, guys in the front court, and there's a theme I'm sure we're gonna keep harping on. That's the group right there at the top. So I'm right with you guys with that. But the theme of, I'm sure even when we get to later on with Washington, you guys see it up there with 51 and 60. We'll still be talking about that front court, like we all mentioned already. But yeah, for me, AJ's leading the race for me with Cam Boozer closely behind. So I guess we'll get into this. I know we was this like maybe a month ago. Wizard season ended. We took some time on like kind of like the Wizards Outlook, like the last Wizards Outlook show where we took our time and hypothesized all these different ways this thing could work out. And then they did get the number one pick. We had a great discussion and came to a consensus, and we were like, these are the things except that one scenario. And lo and behold, that one scenario was exactly what played out. So we are here, Cardell and Ray. So let's see if we can come to a consensus again. Who should they take first overall as we officially begin our mock draft?
I mean, for me, he's Mr. DeBonsa. Like for all the things I said earlier, man, he checks so many boxes. He helps them in so many ways. The versatility that when you add him, I get it. They got a lot of wings, but some of them wings, they do different things. They're similar size and ability. And I like his mentality. Like he's gonna come in and buy in, but he's coming in with the mentality, I'm that dude. And that's gonna make other people elevate and be what they can be. You see what I'm saying? And when you get another super talented piece like that, they can, like he like even when at BYU, people may not have been paying attention, especially when Richie went down. Like it started off in spurts. Young was giving them dosage of being a primary playmaker or secondary playmaker here and there, but it grew throughout the season. That allowed him, as you see even in the highlights, it allowed him to even be able to be like a point forward at times. So he could do pretty much everything offensively. Obviously, he got to get more efficient with his jumper. He got to get more efficient in different ways. That man, he's a youngin', man. He coming in as a one and done kid, but his potential, he'd be one of the ones, man. And he could hit the ground running and make the impact with the Wizards. So for me, it got to be him.
Right.
Yeah, I think you got to take AJ at this point. Again, me personally, I wouldn't turn my nose up at Boozer at all, but yeah, the upside is just, it's just too great to pass that up. That's the kind of thing that'll get you fired. Just plain and simple. For all the reasons Cardell laid out, it's just the ways you can plug him in different spots based on his ability. It's that's a good problem to have. Even with the with them having so many wings already. But yeah, you got to take AJ. Yeah, I don't think first I don't think anybody's brave enough to go another way. but but it's not like it's not with good reason that he's being ranked where he is. So yeah, I think they're gonna go with AJ on draft night.
Yeah, you make that 3 for 3. And to the reasons you guys listed, the versatility, obviously. There's also, some of the things that he does well right now um, would be great for Washington. That ability to get downhill at that size, um, I think it, it would be huge. Cardell, as you mentioned, uh, with their array of wings that they have, and that's how many different ways you can attack different teams. Like you almost have answers for everybody to a degree. There's certain ways you can go about it. And then also, that wonderful era that people love. I'm not gonna use the A word, but him doing a lot of that damage, getting downhill and in the mid range. Um, there's value there. Uh, and as we're seeing in the playoffs, uh, people that people that get it done in that area usually fare well. Um, on this level. But yeah, nah, just I don't think you can, man. And I love the point you brought up about the playmaking. It was something that got better all throughout the year as the season progressed. He did get better as a playmaker at BYU, and again, man, that's yet another person in some of those weird lineups you would throw out there. Like the fact that you could throw Key, Will Riley, and him on the floor at the same time. Um, and booking them however you so choose is absurd with that size and length. The ability, it's one thing where people would like to switch. It's another thing where you can switch and you're switching similar size. That hits a little bit different than the team that doesn't have that type of size and you're switching just to switch. So yeah, I'm with you guys. To be his AJ for sure.
All right. As we get through the rest of the draft, it simulates. We're gonna get to the second round picks for the Wizards, but yeah, I like you said, man. They can throw so many lineups. Like I said, they can go traditional, like Trey, Keyshawn, or Trey. Uh, you can go AJ, Bilal. If AJ not quite ready, they want to keep Bilal out there because that's the dilemma. Like if you draft him, do you keep do you keep Bilal? What's he gonna do? I think he's coming into an option year. Obviously, some of the wings gonna have to, gonna make some tough decision on the wings because it's gonna be too many wings, and they all coming up on rookie extensions and stuff. So you gotta decide. We know age ain't going nowhere for a while, so that's just what the deal is. But the lineups they can throw out there, like you said, they can throw Will at the 1, Keyshawn at the 2, him at the 3 or 4. You can put Bilal at the 3 or 4. You can put Sar at the 5, AD at the 5. Like he fits any lineup. And what's kind of sped up the learning curve for what we're seeing with the Spurs is, they switch everything, and it's just like a similar defender with the similar size, athleticism, and that's just tough to deal with, man. It's like, man, I can't get a break. You know what I mean? And that bolsters your team on both ends right away, man. I think that's why, he's just clear cut for me to be number 1. You know what I mean? Unless a crazy franchise playing player in the league just becomes available and they make a call to the Wizards, like we really want that, you can have him. That's the only way you kind of move off that. But then again, there's a lot of other factors. You got age, injuries, fit, will they stay long term? Because if you get this player that's one of the ones in the league right now, and that player leaves, then what do you have? And it's we're gonna be looking at it like pretty much how throughout the time how we grown up with the Wizards, same old Wizards, man. So you gotta be smart. And I like how they've been building organically with young players. They got experience. It's just now time to go get some wins.
Nah, for sure. So I think you have this right now. We are at the 51st pick, right? So it's
Yep.
Washington's first second round pick. Ray, we start with you. Where are you leaning? Cardell has that up there for everyone to see who's on the board. Um, Ironically, it's hilarious. The people that are already on the board that they had under all happen to be a bunch of bigs, so that's hilarious. But your thoughts, Ray, and then Cardell.
No, that is funny. Given given the options available, I wouldn't be mad at Terrence Reed Jr., man. That- Like 6'11", we know he on rebound. We know he not afraid to get in there. He like what he's able to do on the inside, offensively and defensively. He just wreaks havoc, and that's what they need, man. I'm never going to tell them not to get a damn near 7-footer, 265. He can move a little bit. Uh, he's a rim protector, and like I said, man, he rebounds ferociously, and and as you see, he'll go up and finish. That's what they need, man. I can't remember the last time the Wizards had that type of player. So yeah, I'm seriously trying to rack my brain, man.
Probably go
Yeah,
attack. Probably go attack.
yeah. So what we looking at pretty much 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that 51st pick, and he gonna be in there with AD and Sar, like I did brought up earlier. Iron sharpens iron, and he polishes up a little bit till he gets to the point where you can just dump it down to him and he go to work. Yeah, I like that at the 51st pick.
Okay.
Cardell.
No argument. I'm with him. He was on my list. And one thing he didn't add, winning coaching. You play for Hurley, you play for anybody. If you can play for Hurley, you can play for anybody. Champion. What else? Same thing I brought up with Boozer. Winning. You need winning to change this thing. You need winning habits. Coming there like, nah, I ain't used to all this, man. And then you just lead by example because obviously he has no voice because he hasn't done anything to lead. No rookie can. You gotta go in there and lead by example, man. Just go in there and make an effort. Now, and the thing the Wizards have shown under this current regime with Wenger and Dawkins is they value second round picks. Look at Jameer. Look at what guys that now it may be different in front court. He might have to spend some time in the G for a while, you know what I'm saying? Because now with AD and Sar developing like he has, and AJ probably taking up some minutes at the 4. Like I said, I brought up Julian Reeves, the impact he had down in the second half of the season once he got called up. Vucevic been there for a couple years. You got some guys that are more proven, whatever. But if he plays to what he's capable of doing, he'll be on the same timeline like it's Julian, and come up there and do what he does, man. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not mad at having that in pretty much in your farm system, so to speak, at all, man. You know what I mean? So I love it. Yeah, I love that pick.
Hey man, if you guys like it, you already know where I'm at with it. I barely have anything to add. The only thing I would add is look, man, it's 6'11", 260 is willing to do simple big man stuff. Like there's immense value in that. Not only that, I'm just excited about potentially. You guys named all the other things. With all these guards and wings they have on this team, it's a guy that might actually set a physical screen, um, which would be refreshing to see, honestly. Because as you said, you play for Crazy Man Hurley, you play for anybody. But yeah, that I think it's one of those things where there's other bigs on that list right there. I just think this is one of the cases where it's kind of like it's not gonna be hard for him to come in and understand his role, fit it, and excel in it. And again, the value there. We've been screaming about depth. 6'11", 6'11", 260 that knows what they're doing. There's nothing wrong with that. Off your bench, or as you said, Cardell in your farm system, so earns the minutes. There's nothing wrong with that at all.
Cool. So we're going to drive town. And with the 60th pick, where are we going? Do you go with need? Do you keep Bolster in the front court?
Oh wow.
We don't need no point guards. That's for sure. Got guards for days, man. Yeah, I mean, if you want me to start it off, I can start it off. For me,
Yeah,
since you got a big, you got AJ, I would kind of look for a need, not more so a fit, but more of a need, skill wise. Probably a specialist. I'll probably look for some shooting. I like the kid Richie Saunders out of BYU, man. I know he coming off an injury, but with the 60th pick, I don't think the Wizards going to be looking for him to shock the world or really do too much damage. Send him down to the go-go and let him develop. You know what I mean, and all that. But I think he'll fit just fine with the way he could shoot the ball, man. He's nasty. He's tough. He's a 3-level scorer, but he can shoot that rock, man. You know what I'm saying? He got a little spunk to him. So that's kind of a player I'm looking at. Somebody to come in, feel that need, stretch the floor, because the Wizards, they got guys that can shoot the three, but they're streaky shooters. It's not like a knockdown shooter where it's, oh, damn, who left him open type of deal. Outside Trey, when Trey plays, because he's proven. But yeah, they were 16th in the middle of the pack in the league, 35%, respectable. I'm talking about somebody shooting up in the 40 range. As soon as he steps on the court, it's clear what he's there to do. And he competes defensively, man. You know what I mean? Like, I ain't gonna say he's most athletic, but 6'5", 6'6", he can go on multiple positions. He will compete. He ain't gonna just let you just destroy him like that. So, but obviously you gotta look to see how well he recovers from the injury or whatnot. But somebody that's a shooter, man. So Richie's still in that thing in that pool. Somebody like him, especially with all the like Stojakovic and all them going back to school. As of what it stands now, I'm looking at him.
okay. Yeah, I was about to say that's the thing that that hurt initially as soon as we got here. I remember you were sharing that with me earlier about Stojakovic going back to school, and of course pops up right here. Can't even choose. Yeah, man. I'm not sure with this one. I do agree with you where they need a shooter. I think that would be great. Somebody where that's what you bring to the table for sure. Um, I think for me, just wherever they go, I just want to make sure it's somebody where it's kind of like a defined role coming in, um, where it's not something where like it's all potential, and then if they don't reach it, it's almost like you burned a pick. Because again, we talked about the type of depth they have on there already. So like, yeah, similar to what we knew when they selected Jameer last year. We knew what the role was going to be for him. Coming in here to come here and strap up, and obviously work on the 3 ball, and we saw him do that. But I probably just need a minute, Ray, not to put you on the spot. What you like right here?
Um, Man, I'm still big blinded. like, I was thinking about Ugonna and Yeso from Virginia, uh, 7 feet with a 7'5" wingspan. 2026 ACL defensive team, and he can move. He can run the rim, and like I said, man, I just get depth in that front court, man, because pretty much all of them frail. To just being honest, just to first give them some give them spells where they can rest during games, and should somebody go down, you got people that can just come in behind them. So yeah, size is size, and like I said, he's got some athleticism with him as well. So yeah, that's where I would go. And again, 60th pick. If it don't work out, it's not the end of the world, but you can always send him to the go-go, have him develop, get some reps in. So yeah, I think that'd be good for them to go in that direction.
All right. Cardell, I might just agree with you on Richie Saunders. The other thing I was thinking was Baba Miller, but I don't know. Like, I guess that's the thing with 60th is if you're cool with them spending time in the G, I'm cool with that. But I do like I do like the point about Saunders where I can see a clear defined role where that he's bringing something that they need. Um, versus something with Miller, I think is a little bit. Um, you might be waiting a little bit, but I do like what he brings to the table. But I'm a I like both of the guys you selected, but I'm probably to go with Saunders. Um,
You said Bob Miller. You brought him up.
yeah. I
Yeah.
was I was I was thinking about Bobby Miller and what he brings to the table. You know, with the size and everything, the versatility. But it's kind of like with everything that they have, I don't know where the room for like legit minutes is. Where like you brought up Saunders, and then young fella that Ray brought up, like I could kind of see like runway for those two. I don't kind of like fully see it for Baba, but I do like Will. Um, I do like Baba's talent.
The only thing with he was probably second for me. The only thing with him is he shot like 19% last year from deep, and that
Yeah.
hurts. But at the combine, he could shoot that thing. You know, he showed
Okay.
he could shoot it. You know what I'm saying? So he has nice mechanics and whatnot. For whatever, obviously legit 6'11" with that, he could push it up the floor, athletic, mobile, fluid. You know, I'm not mad at it at all. Like I mean, I'm not mad at Ray guy. I mean, it's a 60 pick. You can go a lot of different ways, man. Probably Baba is the best combination of what we're both, all of us are harping at
Right.
size, the athleticism, finishing, and then being able to shoot the ball. So best combination out of everything we looking for. So, and like I said, the 60 pick, man, he go down there and develop, man, come because he has the potential to be something special with that size and skill and versatility. I mean, it's no question. You know what I mean? So, you know what? I'll change it up. We can go with Baba. You know, it's on y'all. I mean, we can roll with Baba.
Because I was just thinking, like, obviously you needed some more development, but we took Taurus already kind of as a five, right? Like, that's not a bad thing to have in that front court. Additionally, as depth, what is that? Vooch, Taurus. Eventually, you mentioned you have Reese. Like that's a lot of young fellas, and again, all the stuff he brings to the table talent wise, let him stew in the G, marinate in the G for a little bit if needed. And on the other side of that, I love that. On what potentially might be on the other side of that.
And then he has the versatility. Like as he continue to grow, man, he can play like the 3, 4, and 5. You know, and that thing, and then it gets really scary. But with all that versatility they got on the team, yeah, man. So yeah, I ain't even mad at that. We can roll with Baba. Y'all on agreement?
Yeah, I'm cool with Baba. So that's AJ Terrace and Baba.
Yep.
That's that's not a bad haul at all.
So yeah, those are our picks. AJ, Taurus, Baba. A lot of size, versatility, athleticism, and skill. Can't get mad at it.
Like you guys said, it checks so many different boxes along the way. All right, so the last topic we're gonna get into, Cardell, I'm gonna put it up on the screen, and I'm like, the floor is yours.
Oh man, this might be the tough one. So yeah, man, you got to get into trade scenarios, and yeah, ever since the Wizards got the number 1 pick, man, the trades that have been coming in have been, look, man, it's been wild, man. But I get it. People are excited. You know, they got to do what they got to do. So, all types of trade scenarios. So I'm a couple that have been coming in frequently. I'm just going to share it in our little simulator so people can see why, they're a little bit far-fetched. And we're going to leave it at that, man. Give me 1 second as I pull it up. Boom. Okay. So we got the Wizards. So one scenario that came up, let me get it out. You know what I mean? Let me go there. Want to answer his question. Definitely the Wizards trading with the Utah Jazz. It was a suggestion about dropping the number 2 and trying to trade for Markkanen or Jared Jackson with Bilal Coulibaly in the number 1 pick. So let's see if that'll work. And the thing I love about this with the tax aprons and everything that's involved, it will tell you exactly why it will work or why it won't work. So with that being said, so I want to trade Bilal. So we're going to trade that to Jazz and trade the number 1 pick. So we're trading him to the Jazz. And the proposal is you take the Jazz second pick, you take their first round pick, which is the second pick, and then you go for Lauri Markkanen. Okay, so we go up to see if this will try to trade. Failed. So yes, that's not possible, as you can see with the tax apron, what we always talk about. And here's the explanation. The contract is over. After the trade deadline, the team cannot trade Bilal Coulibaly since he has a team option next year worth $9.2 million. Hard cap over the first and second apron. And it doesn't guarantee anything. Now, for the Jazz, it works out. But for the Wizards, it doesn't. That's why you can't pull that out. So for everyone that thought that, so fine, that don't work. So people brought up Jaren Jackson. Let's go for there. A little bit cheaper. Let's see if that'll work out. Failed as well. Pretty much the same deal. Over both tax aprons. Bilal Coulibaly, like I said, has a team option. You know, he can be traded after the trade deadline of this year. Wizards are unable to complete this trade since they are now over the second team apron after this trade. They are only able to take back 100% of the salary they are sending out plus $0. So, but it will work for the Jazz, but obviously it won't work for the Wizards. So, yeah. Now, we're gonna go to another one, and then we're gonna get to our trade proposals if the Wizards were to make the trade, to try to get more depth or whatnot. It's a team that keeps coming up in the East because we all know that it may be, you know, big time player that's on the market. So Giannis Antetokounmpo will obviously trade him. So one proposal was obviously you got to trade the number 1 pick, and then the roster. They said trade Bilal. Guess Bilal don't have a lot of fans out here in the DC area for whatever reason, man. To trade Bilal. Trade Sarr. Obviously, they're going to want a young cornerstone. And, and get the Bucks pick. Yeah, get the Bucks pick. So, try that trade. Failed. Same thing. Giannis is very expensive, $54 million. And that's the thing I don't think a lot of fans, as you can see how much financial stress that move will make. So, and that's even if the Bucks would want to trade him. So with that being said, fans got to understand it's a CBA involved with trades. It's a lot of stipulations in those CBAs and these contracts. This is not fantasy basketball. You got to do things that make sense, man. So now we can put those 2 ideas to bed for good. Now we can get down to business.
Man, that's all we kept seeing was just red on one side of the screen and one side of the screen only.
Exactly.
It's almost like when you acquire veteran players, they come with expensive price tags. Kind of nuts. All right, so lastly, if you guys had any trade scenarios, so Ray, we'll start with you. If Washington was to move it.
All right, so I got a lot of problems with even suggesting they trade the pick in the first place because you don't do what they did for the last 4 years to finally get the number 1 pick and flip it.
Exactly.
You know, like the only reasonable scenario, they got to trade for an all-world player, but in that case, you probably gonna have to gut your team, and that takes you immediately. You tank for 4 years, and now you get the first pick and you trade it for a top 5-ish dude And now the thing is, you got to win. That first of all, that's not going to happen, and it just is no room for development, heightened expectations, and pressure. I'm really only entertaining this for the sake of the show because there's no reason for them to trade this pick. And like Cardell laid out, there's not even a reasonable scenario that would be worth it. And a lot of things people don't consider. Both teams have to agree to the trade. Like you can't just it's not a one-sided thing. But in a fantasy world, let's just say Giannis is just unhappy in Milwaukee and they got to get him out of there. And the Wizards throw in maybe AD and a bunch of picks. I don't know. I think that'll line up mathematically, but the likelihood of that happening is slim to none. So and then people even suggesting that they trade with the Jazz. Like, why would you do that? You have the first pick. Just pick who you want. Like, how would we
No
be
one
going to
can
number
pick.
2?
Literally nobody can pick in front of you.
Like,
You
so
don't have to move anywhere.
the thought of entertaining the idea of trading this pick just makes absolutely no sense in this scenario.
Yeah, nah, I'm with you. The other part about it is, like you said, even if you take somebody like AD and throw him in this hypothetical trade, like why would Milwaukee just stop at AD and picks? If you're on the outside looking at the Wizards' very young roster, now I need several of those youngsters headed over here too. So you're taking Giannis from a barren place in Milwaukee. Milwaukee wants to not be barren anymore in this trade. They're going to try to make sure when Giannis lands, if Giannis could land in Washington, that there's next to nothing there. So like you said, it takes two teams to agree to it. What makes you think Utah, uh, Milwaukee, or what have you, is just like, let's just trade the picks? No, this isn't the NFL. That's totally different. There's you got monopoly contracts over there with all the void years and all that other stuff. Can't do that stuff here, man. You just can't move like that. Like you said, even uh, since the lottery results came out, oh, if the Jazz do this, this, and this. All right, what makes you think, even in that weird world, that Danny's gonna be like, I just want the pick? Nah, man, come up off of some of that young talent. Like we're sitting here talking about what Washington has in terms of all the depth and everything else. Like no team's gonna be, especially like even with Milwaukee, you'd have to throw in, you throw in some of the veterans because they got bigger contracts, but they're not gonna just want picks. You're gonna want somebody like Cardell put Sarr in there earlier. If you're Milwaukee, if I'm gonna lose a top 5 player, now I need all the youth you have that means something back over here. So in whatever scenario, it just doesn't make any sense because there's not a place where the team that's going to give you a top 5 player will be like, sure, take them. Don't give us nothing back but the first round, but the first overall pick. That's enough for us. Seriously? Nah, man, I need all that. Also, you just somehow landed this plane after these 4 years. Bro, ain't no way. We can going back to that show we did a couple months ago, right? Wizard season ends. We had a full long discussion about all the different scenarios that would break out except one, and they accidentally ended up in the timeline where they got the first overall pick. Nah, you can't. You can't. But Cardell, so the trade.
So what did Ray say? He just said they crazy for him entertaining it.
Essentially, yeah. Just what we even doing here, man? Like again, like it's almost a fireball offense to do what you did the last 4 years. Land the hell out the plane. You expect the landing to be like, who wants to make a deal? It's kind of wild when you say it out loud.
Okay, so let's say in a crazy world, which is not crazy, things happen on draft night. Let's say in a wild world where the Wizards want to trade down, not too far, but to try to get as much depth and more pieces as possible. One trade scenario that I looked at, well, since you're gonna give up the number one pick, which kind of takes away your ability to kind of get a wing, I feel like here's a scenario where you can kind of get one in return. So Washington would trade with the Jazz. Ooh. Let me see. All right, so Washington would trade with the Jazz. Obviously, you got to trade the number one pick. You're going to trade down. And then you're going to trade Jaden Hardy. And on the Jazz side of things, you're going to get there the number 2 pick. And you're going to go for Ace Bailey. And since you're also trading the number 1 pick, which can set you up for a long time, let me get another unprotected first round pick just in case. You know, this Ace Bailey move don't work. So we'll get 2029 first round pick. All right. Try to trade. Success. And with the second pick, I would draft Cam Boozer to bolster that front line. So you get Ace Bailey to make up for not having AJ DeMonster, and you still can get Cam Boozer in there, and you're getting some picks for that. So obviously it makes sense with cap wise or whatnot, and that allows you to get a little bit deeper and stuff and have more flexibility if you want to make a play for, say, down the line, Giannis, if AD if not, that's insurance probably. AD, he throwing warnings out there all season. Cool. We got another young piece we could build with the young core. We just keep it moving. You know what I mean? So that's a scenario that you can look at that makes sense. Where I feel like if you're gonna do that, that makes sense. You gotta get somebody young and you gotta get some picks if you're gonna give up the first pick for sure. Because it's gonna be hard to get a franchise guy with the Tax Abrams situation. It's just like a guy that changes things overnight. That's gonna be tough because you want to gut your team drastically. All right. So another trade scenario out of that works. You're gonna go with the Bulls. So you try to trade down. The Bulls are picking 4th NBA draft. Same thing. You gotta get with the number 1 pick, obviously. So if you want that, you want to just trade down, get more depth or whatnot. So I know, like what Ray was saying, hey, we got to build up the front court. So you get the first round pick, which is the 4th overall pick, and then you go to roster. You need a young big that can come in and help. That won't affect the book, so to speak. Jalen Smith, hometown kid, Mount St. Joe's, bolster the front court. All right. And then obviously, first pick that's a big pick, man. You don't get that every day. I need that not protected first round pick from 2028. All right. So now we got the 4th pick. We get Jalen Smith. And we got a first round pick in the 2028 draft. The trade is a success, and with that pick, you can go a variety of ways. You can go with Cam Boozer still, if he's still available. You can go with Caleb Wilson if he's available. Kingston Flemings is my next guy. If you know what I'm saying, if all those guys are gone, which is highly likely. So these are the 2 scenarios that I just came up with that you can add young depth to continue to build around that young core, and you don't give up too much if you may entertain doing that, man. You know what I'm saying? And these are the type of trades that would have to be made if you won't give up off that number 1 pick, because I don't even know if outside of Giannis, if it's anybody in the free agent pool or somebody like that you can go get that's going to like change it like that. Like, yeah, okay, cool. We're back. Right. That's rare, unless somebody come available that we're not familiar with right now. So these are the type of moves that's going to have to be made, man. And that's why it's just best to just stay with the number one pick, draft that, and keep it moving, man. So if you do, these are the type of picks, again, that you have to make. These are the type of moves.
Yeah, I think that's great to show just the gap between what some people thought was possible and actual reality. You know, that's a huge difference from what some people were been talking about that you could swing for versus actual working situations. Quite a drastic difference. Which, like you said, hey man, 1+1 is 2, man. Like you did what you did. You got the first pick. No one can pick in front of you. I don't know, guys. Just make the selection. But we do have a comment. I'm gonna put this on the screen for you guys. Jimmy Go outside said the Wizards need someone who can be special and can lead them to beat the Spurs in 4 years.
They got to worry about getting out the East right now. Worry about making the playoffs first. We got to take baby steps. Let's get to the playoffs. These youngins don't even know what the playoff is. Like, I know it's a different team, but Joe Dumars at his press conference, they hired Jamal Mosley yesterday. And he said Jamal Mosley spoke, and he was saying how a lot of the players have been going to playoff games just to see what it's like. And Derek Queen came back and was like, yo, man, that thing totally different than the regular season. It's intense as hell, physical. And Jamal Mosley was like, yeah, that's what you got to get ready for. Yes, it's a whole nother level. And it made me laugh because it reminded me of our first full year covering the Wizards. One of our first full years, and they made it to the playoffs. They played the Raptors. And I always tell people this, like, we covering them the whole year, shoot arounds, all that, been there the whole time. We get to the first playoff game, they playing the Raptors, we walk in the building, it's like, whoa. You see all these T-shirts. And then you see all these extra lights and sections and shows all around the court and the stands and stuff. You look around like, oh, whoa, where all these lights come from? Where did all this stuff come from? I didn't even know all this stuff was here. We've been here all year. And that's when you understood. And that's just for the first round of the playoffs. That's when you understood how different the playoffs is, even though we knew, but it's like, yo, it's different. You have to experience it live to really understand how intense and how different it is. And it's a reason why, look, man, some great players in the regular season, they don't look the same in the playoffs. You know what I mean? And that's why they always says, man, like in the regular season, you show your game, but in the playoffs, you make your name. And that's really what you get paid for in the postseason. You can kill off. Like, I'm not going to mention no names, but we saw an all-star center cost himself a lot of money in the playoffs after he made a lot of money in the regular season. Mm-hmm. So, and honestly, he ain't the only one. It's going to be some other players too. So, yeah, it's different, man. So let them get to the playoffs and learn, man. You know, it's growing pains. Like, look, it'd be great if they just make a leap and just smack everybody and get to the final. That would be crazy. But that rarely happens, and it's a reason for that. Let these youngins grow. Like, think about it. And we got to see which youngins aren't traumatized by the losing. I know everybody gonna come up out of there right in the head after that, man. Like, I know they some tough youngins.
PTSD, boy.
Look, keep thinking people come up out of there the same. They don't. A lot of players don't come up out of that the same, man. So, you know, we're going to see. We're going to find out real quick who it is, man. But, nah, man, we just looking for them to take another step. Shoot for the postseason. The Western Conference, they're going to take care of them. They're going to take care of themselves, man. You got to deal with the East because, especially with the Knicks out there now, and they done took over the East. You know, the Celtics pissed. Detroit, I'm sure, obviously not happy with how they season ended. The Cavs, they been getting killed all week. Last week for how they played. Orlando, Indiana gonna be back with Halliburton, Charlotte right there, Miami right there. I mean, let's be real. The Wizards not even the favorite in their own division. So they got a lot of work to do before they worry about the Western Conference.
Yeah, like you guys said, just let's take the next step after the last 3 years. The next step wins. Get to the postseason, as you said, man. And we'll see how that goes. So we leave this evening, which you guys know now. The 3 players we've selected for Washington in our Wizards mock draft. And again, that was AJ DeBoston, Taurus Reed, and Baba Miller. Um, you guys have anything else you guys want to add? Obviously, again, it's less than a month until we see what actually happens that night.
Nah, man. Get ready for our full mock draft show. We had to take care of the Wizards first because we covering them, but we got another mock draft show. We gonna go through each team, each pick, just like we did tonight with the Wizards, man, and go from there, man.
Yeah, and can't wait for that. So even more work. So can't wait to see what that looks like. Especially try to slide in the fit and see how the board breaks. As we come to a consensus for that too. So appreciate you guys. We'll see you guys. I think that's Friday evening. So we'll see you guys a couple times Friday nights. But yeah, so Friday evening we'll talk to you guys for the full NBA mock draft show. Like Cordell said, we'll just go throughout the league, pick by pick, and figure this thing out. With the Wizards, that'll make it an easy part for us. At least for the Wizards, we got that off the table. We already know what we're doing for that. Leave it with the rest of the league. But you guys have a great night, and we'll see you guys soon.